Every once in a while, a film comes around that allows you to sit back, watch a film, and be proud, believe it or not, of your country, of patriotism, of the hero's journey, and something that's not woke. Gracious. Well, Top Gun 2022 is that film. It is an homage to the original 1986 version with Tom Cruise. He did it again, but it's different, but in some ways it's the same. And the question is the 2022 version better than the 1986 version? I'm going to break all that down definitively in my next conservative take. If you're unfamiliar with the way I do my movie reviews, then please check the link right here or in the description, and that will tell you everything you need to know. Also be mindful for the spoiler section. We'll have a note right here which will tell you to avoid that section because we will be talking about the 1986 version of this film, the prequel, and the sequel, the 2022 version, Maverick, together with plot points to break down which one I feel is the better film. Okay, before we get into the story, you gotta first understand the first film. If you haven't seen Top Gun 1986, shame on you, you should have seen it by now. However, go check it out and then watch this review. Better yet, go watch that, go watch Maverick, and then come back and watch this review because they're intertwined with each other. They try and do their best in the story to try and bring you up to speed with the situation. And it's not a spoiler to say that Goose, who is played by Anthony Edwards, was his co-pilot. He dies and he feels guilty for the rest of the film, and it causes him setbacks with trying to be the best pilot that he can be. But going forward 36 years, that ghost of Goose is still there. But this time, he's worried about letting other people down. He's worried about being disloyal, and he wants to look out for his team members, whatever that means. No matter what sacrifice it is, whether it be his own life, he wants to make that sacrifice for his team and his colleagues. And that's one thing I like about this film, which is why it's not woke at all, because most woke films are self-centered. They have a political agenda to this. This does not. This really is a hero's continuing journey from Maverick, from the punk kid from 86 to now an adult who is now training other kids of his age 36 years ago, including the son of his former co-pilot, and that would be Goose. And so Miles Teller plays that role, and I get into him a little bit more. But the reason why this story works, I give it a 7, is because they expound upon it, and the reasons why he gives the animosity between he and Rooster, which is Goose's son's name, again, played by Miles Teller, is very compelling, and it speaks to everything I just said just now. Trust me on this, the story is better than the original, and I'll get more into that in my conservative take. But for now, let's go on to the next one. So for the category of emotional impact, I'm going to give this film an 8. I give Top Gun the original a 9 because of the storyline with Goose's death. And I will say this, that Goose's death still is the theme of this film, the 22 version, as it was in 86. 86, they established early on that Goose and Maverick loved each other, that they had been in adventures with each other, they respected each other, and they had fun together with each other. He had a wife and a kid, a new family, and they all got destroyed when he died, with Maverick actually piloting the plane and then doubting himself whether or not he was responsible for it. And that whole thing carries into this film. It's a major theme, but the impact of Goose's death is a way more emotional impact for me. And also there's other things in the first film that are just more, that was done better. The music I think was done better, but we'll get in that in the intangible section. But for now, we'll stick with an 8 for emotional impact for Top Gun Maverick. So for the category of intangibles, I'm going to give Top Gun Maverick an 8. A little bit less of a score than the original. In fact, I gave the original 10 because of many, many things. That film is practically flawless when it comes to just intangibles. It's got everything. I mean, Kelly McGinnis, it's got the whole volleyball scene. It's got the whole thing with him playing her back and forth in the bar. The dialogue is spot on. The music is spot on. And this film just doesn't have it, A lot of things I believe are forced. Relationship with him and Jennifer Connelly, it's kind of forced. Her daughter doesn't really fit in. Some of that backstory doesn't really work. But you work with it. You understand that they had a relationship, but you don't really care as much. The music isn't nearly as good as the first one. You're waiting for the Righteous Brothers song to come on, and I have to say it doesn't. And you do get Kenny Loggins in the beginning. The intro was good, but it's a rehash in many ways of the first film, which isn't bad. I don't think fan service is bad, and they do it in a way that, again, isn't too on the nose, but it just isn't at the level of the first one, which was so original. But I'm not knocking it, and 8 is still very good. Tom Cruise, as always, never phones it in. He may be woke and all that. He keeps it to himself for the most part, but he's a hard worker, and he never phones it in. I like to see the cameos from Val Kilmer, and Ed Harris was awesome because he was in The Right Stuff, and that was kind of a throwback to that. But some things just weren't done very well. John Hamm was in it, the guy from Mad Men, and he really didn't work that much well to me either. So there were some things in there that just didn't fit for intangibles to give it to the level of the first film. So I will stick with a 8 for intangibles. Okay, for watchability, I give both films a 10. This film is fun. It's fantastic. From the very first 20 minutes, I thought was just really compelling. They do a good job of tying the theme of Goose, his legacy, all the way through the film. And Maverick's motivation, which is so different than the first film. It's refreshing. It's a true story arc. And I love this film because they show so much eye candy in terms of Easter eggs. And I'll leave some things you see for yourself. I'm not even going to tell you. In fact, I'm not even going to tell you in the spoiler section because I want you to see some of this stuff. It's really, really cool if you're a fan of Top Gun. They close the whole thing out great. And the action sequences in this film are just out of control. The mission is so impossible. Mission Impossible. It's Mission Impossible in a plane. And I just thought it was fantastic. Absolute 10. And so enjoy this film. I can't wait to go see it again. So from an overall rating for this film, I'm going to give it a 7, whereas I'd given Top Gun 86 an 8. I give it a 7 because of the reasons I just mentioned. The 86 version was the first film I'd ever watched, and maybe it's the only version I've ever watched where I actually watched the film and turned right around and watched it back to back. That's how much I loved Top Gun in 86. This film, even though I would have watched it again, I had to do this review, so I really can't say that, but it is a really good film, don't get me wrong. But there's some things in here that I just can't bump it up. I can't go along with some of the forced narration with these characters. The new people they bring on, it's forced, it's wooden. Miles Teller's character is kind of, they say he's not that good of a person in terms of his ability, and you understand how Maverick's trying to shelter him, but at the same time, it's like, dude, there is no backstory for any of these characters, but they have such complexity that they just willingness to sacrifice is just so compelling, which is why it's also so refreshing to see a film today that has no absolute zero wokeness at all about it. And so with that, a 7, I think is very, very strong. So this is my conservative take spoiler section. And I'm not going to say much here at all because I kind of spoiled some things in the beginning, but I'm not telling you the storyline. I will say this though, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to like this film because the whole deal with the mission was basically a Death Star trench run. It's exactly what it was. It was exactly a Star Wars trench run. And there you go. And even one of the radar systems went out. And so there are a lot of tropes there. And I won't say much more about the things I saw in terms of eye candy. But look, it's good to have a spoiler section that just really has nothing about wokeness. There's nothing to complain about. This film is a film that any conservative would love to watch because it celebrates freedom, it celebrates America, it celebrates sacrifice, it celebrates friendship, it celebrates love and respect and legacy and hard work and learning and a journey. And I just can't say much about it because you see this so infrequently these days. So for my final take, I give Top Gun Maverick a 15.25, which translates to 3.5 stars and a go for my conservative take. I'm going to compare that with the original. Here are the results. I gave Top Gun 86 a 16.25 and a 3.5 stars. So they're neck and neck and separated by exactly 1 point. I think it pretty much comes down to the intangibles and some other areas there, maybe my overall rating for the reasons mentioned, but that's dead even. And I think given today's standards of films, I think that is commendable. I think this is absolutely one of the greatest sequels of all time. And given the time span of 36 years, it may be the greatest sequel in that category. So Top Gun Maverick is a fantastic film. It's popcorn all the way. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. And you're wondering, how are these kids going to get this mission and carry it off with what's going on? And there's some surprises in there. Again, the pacing is really good. I just can't say enough good things about it. And so Top Gun Maverick, what do you think? Do you think it's better than the first film? Personally, I think I could go either way on the second or third viewing. After all, it's only separated by 1 point. But I think some things about it, just on the first viewing, I just couldn't give it the edge. Tom Cruise does a fantastic job. And I think the direction was compelling and fast and hard-hitting that were really challenging, and they just couldn't get out in time. Let me know in the comments below what you think on this. I'd be curious to know. Also, if you like what we do in this channel, we take pop culture and politics, filter to your right, and please check out some more content that we have for you right